Modern battlefields, right? They're just changing so fast. It's not like old maps with clear lines anymore. You've got autonomous systems making decisions almost instantly, sensors everywhere, and then all these dual-use technologies popping up. It's incredibly complex.
Absolutely dynamic. And that's really the backdrop for what we're diving into today.
Which is this major initiative from the U.S. Army.
Exactly, the Army Transformation Initiative, or ATI. And this isn't just tinkering around the edges. It's a fundamental rethink of, well, pretty much everything, how they fight, train, organize.
Equip, yeah. And the why seems pretty clear from the leadership, doesn't it? It's about staying ahead.
It absolutely is. Maintaining that decisive advantage, making sure the Army remains, lethal and effective in this new era.
So for this deep dive, we're going to break down the ATI. There are, three main parts?
3 key lines of effort, yeah. First is delivering critical warfighting capabilities. Second, optimizing the actual force structure.
Getting leaner, maybe?
Sort of, yeah. And third, cutting out waste, getting rid of obsolete programs and systems. So we'll unpack each of those and see what it really means for the Army going forward.
Okay, sounds good. Let's start with that first one, delivering warfighting capabilities. Now, this isn't starting from zero, is it? I remember hearing about transformation in contact, TIC.
Right, TIC. Yeah, this ATI definitely builds on that. TIC was more about the experimentation, prototyping new tech, trying out different ways of organizing units, learning quickly.
So TIC was the lab, and ATI is putting the successful experiments into production, so to speak.
That's a great way to put it. It's about scaling up what they learned, taking those promising ideas and integrating them more broadly, making them standard, really.
Okay. And they're getting specific about the kinds of tech, right? The letter to the force mentioned things like long-range missiles.
Modernized drones, or UAS.
The new M1E3 tank.
Yeah, the next-gen tank.
Yeah.
And that future long-range assault aircraft. Big priorities.
And countering drones, too, right? CSUAS, that seems huge now.
Oh, absolutely critical. That gap is a major concern. So, addressing that is a clear focus. Could be a mix of things, kinetic solutions, electronic warfare.
A layered defense.
Exactly. The ambition here is to really weave all these advanced systems together into how they operate.
It's not just the hardware, though, is it? AI gets a mention, too, specifically for command and control. How does that fit in?
Well, think about the speed we mentioned earlier. AI in C2 is all about accelerating the decision-making cycle.
Processing all that sensor data faster.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Sifting through mountains of information, spotting patterns, suggesting courses of action, helping commanders make quicker, better decisions. You need that edge when your adversary is likely using AI, too. It's about maintaining initiative.
Speed of decision. Yeah, that makes total sense. And the money side is changing too. This agile funding idea, capability portfolios instead of just programs.
Right. That's a pretty significant shift in how they manage resources.
How so? What does that actually look like?
Well, traditionally, funding was often tied very rigidly to a specific weapon system program, like money for this missile, money for that truck.
Okay.
Now they're trying to group investments around broader capabilities. So instead of just funding a specific missile, you fund the long-range fires capability portfolio.
So you can be more flexible within that portfolio if a better missile tech comes along.
Exactly. It allows for more agility. You can adjust investments faster as tech matures or threats change, rather than being locked into a years-long program that might be outdated by the time it delivers.
Trying to break that cycle of systems being late and over budget?
That's the hope. It's about adapting faster. The message is clear. Adaptation isn't just nice to have anymore. It's essential for survival on the modern battlefield.
Okay, big changes on the tech and funding front. Let's pivot to that second area, optimizing the force structure. The theme here seems to be putting soldiers where the fighting is.
That's the core idea, yes.
Yeah.
Really scrutinizing every position and asking, does this directly contribute to lethality and winning? If not, it's under review.
And they're starting at the top, aren't they? The letter mentioned cutting, 1,000 jobs at Army HQ?
1,000 staff positions at headquarters, Department of the Army. Yeah, that's a very concrete example of trimming the overhead.
More than just HQ, though. There are command mergers happening, too.
Oh, yeah. Big ones. Army Futures Command, the folks designing the future force, is merging with TRADOC, Training, and Doctrine Command.
Futures and TRADOC. Why bring those two together? Seems like different roles.
Well, the thinking is to create a tighter loop between designing future capabilities and actually training soldiers to use them and developing the doctrine for how they'll be used.
Trying to make that transition smoother. From concept to reality.
Exactly. Integrating force generation, design, and development under one command. It should, in theory, make the whole process more efficient and aligned.
Any potential downsides to merging such big organizations? Culture clashes.
Always a challenge, right? Integrating different cultures, different processes. They'll need to work hard to make sure it's truly synergistic and not just, putting two logos on the same building.
Makes sense. And there's another merger, Forces Command.
Right. Forces Command 4 and XCOM is essentially transforming into Western Hemisphere Command. It's merging with Army North and Army South.
Okay, so a geographic focus shift. Why the Western Hemisphere consolidation?
It seems to point towards a more unified strategy for this region. Combining North and South American responsibilities could streamline operations, improve cooperation with allies, and maybe better tackle those transnational threats, drugs, migration, instability that don't respect borders.
Interesting. And it ties into other shifts, like aligning multi-domain task forces regionally.
It seems like part of that same integrated approach, yeah.
And we're also seeing fewer generals, a reduction in general officer positions.
Yes, that's plan 2. Again, aiming for leaner command structures, maybe faster decision-making with fewer layers.
It's not just uniform personnel either, right? Changes for civilian roles, too.
A shift towards prioritizing performance, making sure civilian expertise is really aligned with the Army's core missions.
Okay. Now, Army aviation seems to be getting some specific tweaks. Reducing an aerial cavalry squadron in each active combat aviation brigade.
Yeah, one less ACS per active CAB.
Why that specific cut? Isn't aerial recon and security crucial?
It is, but this might reflect a calculation about future needs, perhaps shifting resources towards other priorities, like modernizing attack helicopters or focusing on different ways to achieve reconnaissance, maybe with more advanced UAS or integration with ground scouts.
So a potential trade-off there, less cavalry for potentially other capabilities.
Potentially. It's a strategic choice. And alongside that, they're consolidating aviation maintenance and sustainment.
Right.
The goal there is better readiness rates for the aircraft they do have.
Right, keep the remaining ones flying more reliably.
Exactly.
And then maybe the biggest structural change. All infantry brigades becoming mobile brigade combat teams, IBCTs to MBCTs. What does that really mean on the ground?
That's a fundamental redesign.
Yeah.
The idea behind mobile BCTs is, enhanced mobility and lethality, but with a leaner structure.
Leaner how? Fewer people, less heavy gear.
Probably a bit of both, trading some personnel and maybe some heavier support elements for more vehicles, more tactical mobility, more integrated firepower. The letter explicitly says trading weight for speed and mass for decisive force.
Weight for speed, mass for decisive force. That's quite a statement.
It is. It signals a bet on speed in maneuver being more critical than sheer numbers or holding ground in future fights.
So potential upside is faster deployment, more agility. What's the potential downside? Less staying power.
That could be a concern. Less mass might make sustained combat, or things like stability operations or dense urban fights, more challenging. It's a clear strategic calculation about the most likely future conflicts.
Okay, really significant changes to the structure. Let's get to that third piece. Eliminating waste and obsolete programs. Sounds like spring cleaning.
But yes, it's about divesting from things that are no longer needed or effective, freeing up money and people for the new priorities.
And they listed some specific examples, didn't they? The AH-64D Apache.
D model, yeah, the older variant. It's being superseded by the E model and future aircraft.
And some vehicles. HMNWVs and JLTVs. Not all of them, surely.
No, just excess quantities.
Yeah.
So trimming down the inventory to what's actually needed. And the Gray Eagle drone is also on the chopping block.
Why those specific ones? What's the common factor?
Generally, it's either being technologically surpassed, like the AH-64D, or they simply have more than they project needing, like the vehicles.
Yeah.
The Gray Eagle is likely making way for newer, more capable unmanned systems.
And it's not just those named programs, right? There's a broader clean-out planned.
Definitely. They've set criteria. If a program is delivering something outdated, or it's arriving too late to be useful, or it's just too expensive or hard to maintain, it's likely going to be cut.
A real adapt or die approach to programs.
Pretty much. Recognizing that what worked yesterday won't necessarily win tomorrow. You can't afford to hang on to outdated tech.
And this isn't the end of it, is it? They called this the first step.
Yeah, that's significant. They're signaling that this transformation is ongoing. The second round is already being planned. It points to a commitment to continuous adaptation, not just a one-off reorganization.
Which brings us to the leadership aspect. The letter really hammers home the need for leaders at all levels to drive this, doesn't it?
Absolutely. They stress that this isn't just a top-down directive that happens automatically. It needs buy-in and proactive leadership throughout the ranks to make these changes stick.
And keeping the focus on the ultimate goals, lethality, readiness.
It's taking care of soldiers and families through all this change. That cohesion piece is vital.
So the final message seems to be transform now, integrate technology, cut the old stuff, streamline, or risk falling behind.
That's the essence of it. And that it all hinges on having agile, strong leaders to make it happen.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, the Army Transformation Initiative is clearly a massive effort. It's a response to a battlefield that's just fundamentally different now.
Right. It touches everything: tech, structure, training, funding.
So for you listening, the big takeaways are this real push for speed, for mobility, integrating high tech like AI.
While also being disciplined about cutting older systems and streamlining the organization, making the Army leaner, faster, more adaptable.
It really makes you think, though, doesn't it, about the wider implications? How does this kind of shift in military strategy affect, global power balances? And what does this focus on speed, tech, and agility tell us about what future wars might even look like? It certainly raises some big questions about national security in the 21st century.